pleasure to be here to talk to you about aging. I guess it's something that we all experience, hopefully, if we live long enough. So we're a biotech company focused on the biology of aging. As you can tell from our ticker symbol on the New York Stock Exchange, AGE. I'll be making some forward-looking statements that have risks and uncertainties, so please find our filings with the SEC for more information about the company. So let me give you at least some of that information right now. So there's an interesting story. I wish that we had more time to delve into. There have been these revolutions in the history of biotech, things that really changed medicine and the health of all of us. One, of course, some of us are old enough to remember, recombinant DNA. This was the technology that started industries like companies like Genentech and Amgen. It was the ability to manufacture any of the proteins in the human body, or in animals or plants, but on an industrial scale, economically for the first time. It took about 20 years from that lab bench discovery to being billion-dollar industry that we see today. Monoclonal antibodies, similar with these little molecules in the blood called antibodies that recognize specific targets. The third revolution, you may have heard of, called regenerative medicine, has specific and important applications in aging, as I'll try to lay out. I'm somewhat proud to having been the person who invented the field. I was the founder of this field. Some of the events that were fundamental in this field I led back in the late 1990s, like the isolation of a gene that allows cells and human cells to have infinite scalability, that makes cells, as we say, immortal, the telomerase gene. I led the effort to isolate the first pluripotent stem cells that can make all of the cells of the human body scalable the same way Genentech and Amgen made scalable proteins, and other companies have made scalable monoclonal antibodies. Most provocative, and I'll end up with this point, I led the effort to show that it's possible to reverse the aging of human cells, which is probably as important as it sounds. So let me quickly walk you through this. You've probably seen, and maybe in the main session or elsewhere, this horrendous demographic we're experiencing in the United States and around the world, the age wave. The point I wanted to make was it carries with it the problem of chronic degenerative diseases. That accounts for about 80% of the healthcare costs in the US, and the reason is about 80% of the elderly have a chronic degenerative disease because cells in our body can't repair the damage, and so we carry it for the rest of our life. What am I thinking of? Parkinson's, heart failure, the pain of arthritis or degenerative disease in the spine. You know, the body can't repair that stuff. Unfortunately, 68% of the aging population has two or more of these simultaneous. So the work I just described that was done in the past 20 years or so is really aimed at inventing an entirely new platform targeted for the most urgent needs of an aging population. We do it by making young cells of all kinds and a matrix to allow the regeneration of that tissue, be it the heart or the brain or whatever, and that's our prescription for regenerative medicine for an aging population. We have a lot of patents, having invented most of the technologies in the field. If you dig deep on our company, you'll see that PureStem, a way to manufacture pure cells, just the cells you need for a particular disease like heart failure or whatever it is, on an industrial scale is a core technology of the company. And then what we call Universite, it's a way of engineering cells so that your body doesn't reject them, so we can have an off-the-shelf product for all people. Really a revolutionary idea, a technology we own at AgeX. So the model is just like companies, large pharma companies, manufacture biologics and then ship them off, oftentimes in a frozen state, to the point of care. That's our business model. Some of the lead products we have in development are these cells, stained red. These are sort of anti-fat cells. As you can see in the graph on the left, you lose them with age. That causes imbalance in metabolism, leading to type 2 diabetes, obesity, coronary disease. And so we're really excited about this product in development, as well as vascular progenitors. You're as old as your arteries. And so the aging of the vascular system is really important in aging, and we're targeting that with this product called VASC1. We're doing this in part because of the size of these markets. We can make all the cells of the human body, but these have really large markets, as you may know. Diabetes, 30 million plus in the US alone. The cardiovascular market expected to exceed $1 trillion in the US in the coming years. Now, as I promised at the beginning, maybe a bit provocative, we can actually reverse the aging of human cells all the way back to the beginning of life. And it really works. I can't have time to walk you through the science. On the left, it shows the resetting of the clock of cell aging, or what are called telomeres. You can look this up. Telomeres and telomerase. We reset the clock of cell aging and all the other known clocks of aging. The scientific community is really excited about this. It's really an amazing thing that's been accomplished. How can we employ this in the practice of medicine? Well, we're doing something similar we call ITR. This is a technology we're leading at AgeX. We think it's going to have important applications in medicine. It's resetting the clock of cell aging in tissues on our body and resetting tissues back to a regenerative state we once had when the body was first forming. But it gets turned off and leads to the inability of the body to regrow heart after a heart attack, for instance. Here's an example of a pharmaceutical formulation which we're developing in our company, and you can see these lines going up. This is a sort of a clock of aging, and this formulation can reset cells back to this regenerative state again. So we're really excited about ITR. So what is AgeX? A biotech company focused on the core clockwork mechanisms of aging itself, some really state-of-the-art science relating to the clock of cell aging. We're targeting the chronic degenerative diseases of aging. Again, 80% of healthcare costs associated with this. Young cells for aged tissues has enormous market potential. We have proprietary technologies relating, well, to this whole field, because we largely invented it. The ability to industrially scale up cells, the methods of generating product with purity and identity, key to FDA approval, and the technology to make cells transplantable into all patients without transplant rejection, or allogeneic off-the-shelf products. And this magical technology called ITR that can turn back the clock in cells in the laboratory dish, and we hope one day in tissues in the human being. That's my presentation. If I have a minute, I was told we don't have time for questions and answers, but the previous speaker got some, so I'd be happy to answer any questions, or our booth is up in the center, upstage. You can find us near the coffee area. Thank you very much.
From that research, how much time will it take to reverse the aging?
Yeah, so, you know, I don't think that we're going to be seeing FDA or any biotech companies targeting the biology of aging directly as an endpoint in a clinical trial. Lots of reasons for that. FDA doesn't recognize aging as a disease. It's one of the big ones. But you know, we're already, some of the work that I described is already in clinical trials for things like macular degeneration, for the age-related loss of vision. So, I mean, you know, some of these applications you'll be seeing further progress, certainly in this decade, the beginning of the rolling out of regenerative medicine products in the clinic.
Hi there. Is there an ideal implementation age for these therapies, or can it be started at any point in a person's life?
You know, it's said that you start to age in the womb, and that's true. I mean, we see all these clocks beginning to tick very early on, but typically you don't have age-related manifestations until after the age of late 20s, early 30s. But the part of the biology of aging is preventing. Have you noticed when you're very young and you cut yourself, you scar a little bit, and it gets worse as you get older? So the inability of the body to repair itself and regenerate itself is slowly being turned off as we age. So young people, I'm thinking, for instance, of children that, I even hate mentioning this scenario, pour boiling water on themselves and get bad body burns. Even in young people, these technologies we think will be very important in regenerating, scarless wound repair in the skin or trauma. So we're reasons are excited, not just applications in aging, but in medicine in general. This is really one of the revolutions you'll see in the history of biotech that changed the world forever, I think. Thank you very much.